Ele papa ele brother they don't kill them baba. Ele mama ele sister.
On this episode of Reno Around the World, I'm flying to Transylvania to investigate the legend of Dracula, the vampire who allegedly feasted on human blood to achieve immortality and invincibility. Was he real, or is it all just a myth? At the end of this episode, I hope to convince you beyond a shadow of a doubt, one way or the other. I arrived at Cluj-Napoca airport to make the initial trip to Sighișoara in the Transylvania region of Romania, which is the birthplace of Count Dracula. I am meeting Maria, a local expert on all things about Dracula. Maria takes me to a castle in Sighișoara where she feels I would get a better first-hand knowledge of Vlad the Impaler, otherwise known as Dracula. This castle has been converted into a museum of all things Dracula. Maria, thank you for inviting me to Transylvania. It's a pleasure. You know, right now we are in Sighișoara. This is a town where Vlad the Impaler was born, and we're in a castle. Now, Maria is a local expert on the legend of Vlad the Impaler. She calls him Vlad Cepek, but all of us everywhere around the world, we know him as Count Dracula. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the meaning of Dracula?
That's a very good question, and maybe every good story should start with that, right, with the beginning. And like every good son, he took his name from his father, and his father was known as Vlad Dracul because he was a member of a secret order in Europe in the Middle Ages.
This was a secret cult.
It was
and it was the practice then that, you know, when you join that cult, you take like a new name. It's like a monarch. When you become the monarch, you take a new name, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So this cult was named the Order of the Dragon. So Vlad would become, his father would become Vlad the Dragon. But because in Romanian, dragon is very similar in how it sounds with Dracul, the people of Transylvania and Wallachia and all the others, they took this name Dracul because it was much more easier, let's say, to pronounce or to understand. Also, which is very interesting, is that in Romanian, Dracul means the devil.
Could it be because, like, when I did my research about this, it's that the secret cult, or the secret, it was called the Christian order, but basically it wasn't really Christian. The Order of the Dragon, they took that name from the Book of Revelations, and in the Book of Revelations, the dragon represented Satan, the devil.
Exactly. So you know, it was a cult. It was mysterious. And they wanted to stop the Ottomans invading Europe. So it was a hard task, actually. But coming back to Vlad Cepes, how we called it, or the Impaler in English, He's not Vlad Dracula anymore, he's Vlad Dracula.
Meaning the son of the devil or the son of the dragon.
Exactly. It's from Dracula in Romanian, and you know it has the smaller Dracul.
Yeah. So like if your father was Paul, then you would be Paula, which would be the son of Paul.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, was he really a vampire? I know he was brutal, I know he killed a bunch of people. In one day, there was a particular day that he killed 20,000 people. And I know that he drank human blood because that's a documented fact. But was he really a vampire? Was he doing all of these to have eternal life? You know, because I mean, a lot of my viewers would have seen the movie Count Dracula, and they would have read Bram Stoker's novel, and many people would have seen Van Helsing, which is, you know, more recent, and it was a blockbuster. But tell me, was he really a vampire?
Well, you know, I don't know if you had the chance to taste our amazing Romanian wine.
Oh, not yet.
Some of the wines are really thick, you know, and maybe a few of them confused, or maybe Bram Stoker himself confused a good wine with blood. But being a vampire, I don't think so. I wish I have lived those times and be able to tell you, if you know what I mean, but I'm not. And of course this is a fictional character.
Let's not call it fiction just yet. Now tomorrow I'll be going, God spare my life, to Dracula's castle where he lived. I'll be going there, and it was actually the site of the book. You know, the book was actually based on that castle. So I'll be going there, and then we'll know if it's actually a myth, in fact was fact. Maria introduced me to Taisia Niculescu, a descendant of Vlad the Impaler, also known as Dracula. Now, the interesting and coincidental thing about Taisia is that she is a cousin to Nigerian on-air personality Daddy Freeze. And this may or may not be relevant, but Daddy Freeze has some rather interesting religious views. And, you know, sometimes I wonder if this has to do with his being a descendant of Dracula. Taisia, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you too.
Now, I found out from your cousin that you are of the direct descent of Vlad Tepes, that the outside world knows as Count Dracula. Now, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
How does that make you feel?
I used to it.
You used to it?
Yeah.
Well, in my time here in Transylvania, you know, I spent some time with you, and I found you to be laid back and also somewhat introverted, and that was I just felt that was how Vlad the Impaler, from what I've read about him, is. Hopefully you're not a vampire. I'll find out tomorrow when I go to Bram Stoker's castle.
Yeah, I know.
Pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
So this is Scenic, the town where Count Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, depends on what you want to call him, was born. Scenic. So now from here we're going to be going to the castle where he lived partially. Now we're at Bran Castle. Yesterday I said I was going to be here. Today I'm here. And so you can actually see the castle. We're going to go in there so you can get more of the Vlad the Dracula experience, Vlad the Impaler. So you can see it in the background. Now, I told you yesterday and while filming in Sigisiora that although the order that he joined and got the name Dracula, it is sold as a Christian order, but it's an occult order, and you're going to see this. All these stores here, they're actually selling Dracula paraphernalia. And then if you come here, if you look at the branding of this shirt, can you see that? You see that? What does that say? All right, so I'll be going in, and then I'll see you guys in a sec. We're going to the castle right now, and we're going to find out whether this is myth or fact. But here you can see, now going along, now it's so easy to see why the castle was built here. And so, you know, the castle is on the high ground, and so when invaders would come, it would be very difficult for them to break into the castle, because they had archers over there, and the archers would shoot down, and so it was a fortress. Now we're going to see in this castle, is it myth or is it fact? Join me, let's go. Now we're in the castle. Now you can see here a long list of rulers of this castle. And so you've got from 1211 to 1225 and then all the way. Now this is the guy, this is who we're most interested in. That's Vlad Tepes, probably known as Vlad the Impaler, mostly known as Count Dracula. And so we're here to find out, is it myth? Is it fact? We're going in. Now the thing about it is Count Dracula wasn't actually a vampire. Now what happened is, while he ruled Wallachia, he imposed a tax, a border crossing tax on merchants, and they were Saxons, meaning like they were of Germanic origin. And that was just about the time when the printing press had been invented, 1450 by Gutenberg. And so they were printing flyers. And then one of the things that they were printing in their flyers is that he was sucking the lifeblood out of them. Now listen to that, the lifeblood. So what they meant is by overtaxing them, he was sucking the lifeblood out of them. But then when the common folk got the flyers, what they read was that he was sucking the blood. They didn't understand that, lifeblood, they took it literally. So he was sucking blood. And then that's how the legend of Vlad, the vampire, Dracula, came about. But he wasn't really a vampire. He didn't really suck human blood. He was known on occasion to dip his bread in a cup of blood. But the rest of it was actually myth. But like this palace is really spooky, just look at that now. You see, even the walls are creaky. Now the part about Vlad Dracula that was real though is the fact that he was an impaler. He was he was very vicious with that. Now over here you can see, like, this is like documenting what he did. On a particular day he impaled as many as 20,000 Ottomans. Like they'd been sent to teach him a lesson because he stopped paying tribute to the Sultan in Istanbul. So he impaled, some say 20,000, others say 5,000. It's debatable, but he impaled those people and then he left them, on the route. So it was like a lesson to the Ottomans, but that wasn't going to deter the Ottomans. Alright, so I'm in a secret tunnel in the Bran castle. Now this would be the place where Vlad Tepes, that's what they call him in Transylvania. We know him as Vlad the Impaler or Count Dracula. This would be the place where he would, it's a secret passage where he would hide from invaders if his castle was ever invaded. So we're going to go up. In those days, there was a lot of brutality from rulers of Transylvania, and it's easy for us to judge them right now, but they had to be that way because of invading forces. And if you weren't brutal, it was a dog-eat-dog world, so they had to be brutal. So deep is the occult symbolism of this place that they have a bell. Now, in most places, when you come to a bell, it's almost religious, like you ring the bell to say a prayer for a dead relative or something like that. But in this case, in Bram Stoker's castle, in Dracula's castle, this bell was meant that if you rang the bell once, a fallen angel, in any case, like a demon, will get its wings back. Just imagine that, a demon will get its wings back. So by doing that, you actually meant to empower darkness. And take a look at the view. It's awesome. It's breathtaking, really. It's like the view that you'd see in Bavaria. So this room would be Vlad Tepes, or someone that we know as Vlad the Impaler, or better known as Dracula. This would be his torture room. So you would see that, very ghoulish. That's not real. It's made out of wax. And then that's a depiction of how he would be like. But all of this is just myth. He wasn't like that. Obviously you have garlic here, but we've established that he was a brutal fellow. But he was brutal in relation to standing up to the Ottomans. But the rest of that about him being a vampire, sucking people's blood, all of that's just myth. Rural Romania is so beautiful. You know, I've just been up there in the castle. That's Count Dracula's castle in Bran, in Romania, in the Transylvania region of Romania. But I wanted you guys to see this river. It's so beautiful. You just have to take a look at this river. Look at that. It's called the Mushka River. I hope I pronounced that right. And just look at that. Look at the color of the river. It's coming from the Carpathian Mountains, flowing down. Look at the lovely color of the river. I've never seen a river like that. You know, and it's so disciplined. Just look at that. It's beautiful. I wanted you guys to take a look at it. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye bye. The verdict. Vampires have been a fixture of popular legend. Movies have been made about them. They've even featured as a theme in Michael Jackson's Thriller album and video. And countless books have also been written about vampires. While there was an actual character known as Dracula, whose name means son of the dragon or devil, he was not a blood-sucking vampire. He was a very brutal medieval ruler of Wallachia in Transylvania, who was known for impaling his enemies. He was a member of a secret cult, sold to the public as a secret Christian order, although it was anything but Christian. They practiced occultic arts and what some people might call dark magic. Now, can we judge him for being so brutal? When you consider the times in which he lived, his brutality becomes more understandable, though still not justified. He lived during a time when the Ottoman Empire was trying to take over several kingdoms in Europe, and he did what he felt he had to do to survive. Now the verdict? The vampire legend of Dracula is part fact and part myth. The part about the blood-sucking vampire, completely myth, not true. But the part about Dracula, who was involved in brutal practices and dark magic, that part is true. Now I'm back in California, and until another episode of Reno Around the World, this is Reno Mokri signing out. Now remember, vampires don't exist. Or do they?